So this is the state of Yemen. This is the state of Yemen. I had thought that there was 15,000 people that had been killed, but apparently 500,000 people have been killed in Yemen. When it comes to the Ukraine, the biggest criticism is the hypocrisy of the United States. How come we don't speak out on Yemen and Palestine and all this other shit? I have been speaking out on it. I'm just not very effective. So, sorry about that. But this is the update on Yemen. So there was a commotion in jail. 10 Al-Qaeda members had escaped jail. So that's something that's going on in Yemen. 10 Al-Qaeda staged a commotion, stole the Kalashnikovs from the jailers, and then they're able to escape. Now, in Yemen, like I said, Bad Empanada pointed this out to me. He said 500,000 have been killed in Yemen. So these fucking body counts, these numbers are goddamn terrible. 15,000 it's almost like Puerto Rico, 16 forever, right? But it's been 15,000 forever in Yemen, but it's actually 500,000 people have been killed in Yemen. Why? Because of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is killing the shit out of the Yemeni people. Iran is backing the Houthis, so you got a proxy war in Yemen between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And since the United States has a veto in the United Nations, nobody's intervening. Nobody's doing shit to help Yemen out. Nobody's doing shit. Saudi Arabia just executed 81 people. I mean, motherfucking shit. I think we should invade Saudi Arabia and give them freedom and democracy, and Russia. Russia, Saudi Arabia, they need freedom and democracy. Look what the fuck they're doing. They're absolutely destroying everybody and everything. Motherfuckers are going to start flying planes into buildings. I bet you, no time. Okay, so we should take both Saudi Arabia and Russia over, institute land reform, redistribute their land to the peasants, do not Otto van Bismarck, divide the land between the family members. So land reform, maybe a universal basic income program, some ranked choice voting, Saudi Arabia, Russia. So global food and fuel prices soar to new highs. So Yemen has been the world's worst humanitarian crisis, and now it's getting worse. Ukraine is, the Russia is raping the shit out of Ukraine, and 30% of the grain that Yemen was getting came from the Ukraine. So, the Russia-Ukraine war is hitting the Saudi Arabia-Yemen war too. Yemen gets 30% of their grain from the Ukraine. The world's worst humanitarian crisis is going to get way worse. They're not going to get as much food. And then the people that they're getting grain from, they're not going to get their money. So, Jesus, fuck. You can see why Russia would want to, destroy that relationship. So global food and fuel prices are going to new highs more than 7 years since fighting between a Saudi-led coalition and the Iran-backed Houthi rebels. Hundreds of thousands have died. More than 7 fucking years. Yeah, I guess so. 2015, right? 2015. So what's that? Started under Obama and then carried on with Trump and still carried under Obama. We're still selling goddamn weapons to Saudi. Why are we even nice to Saudi Arabia? They're not even picking up our fucking phone calls and shit because of their oil. Fuck you. We just need to, do regime changes on these nations, install democracy, and then just like crap through a goose, right? Isn't that what George MacArthur, that one actor playing MacArthur? The World Food Program, take food from the hungry to feed the starving. Yeah, so you got 2.3 million kids in Yemen who are malnourished. You got 23.4 million Yemenis who need food. You have a total population of 30 million. Over 4 million Yemenis have been internally displaced. More than 7 years of fighting have happened. And you've had 500,000, 500,000 people who have been killed. 500,000 people. A genocide right before our eyes. And this is directly because America sells weapons to Saudi Arabia. And this is a genocide. The world's fucking pissed off about this shit. But because Saudi Arabia is our fucking buddies, we don't give a shit who they're fucking murdering and killing. That's such a bad friendship. Frankly, if me and Canada are best friends, but Canada starts killing a bunch of Eskimos, me and Canada, you're not friends no more, motherfucker. You're killing a bunch of fucking Eskimos. Fuck you. So we should be a good friend to these nations that, go astray. Hey, Saudi Arabia, no, we're just going to go ahead and take your country for, 20 years. And then give it back to you with, elections and with voter boosts and, democracy. Let's give Saudi Arabia some democracy. This is, they're the ones that caused 9/11. The government was, we couldn't even sue the government. So we flew the bin Ladens out of the fucking country. We can't even sue Saudi Arabia for 9/11. So for their, for what they're responsible, we can't even get any goddamn. How the fuck does Saudi Arabia get away with this shit? Saudi Arabia does 9/11. We invade Afghanistan and Iraq, but not, Saudi Arabia. Not Saudi Arabia. And, I didn't like the Iraq war. I don't like the neocons. But compared the Iraq war to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Tony Blair is absolutely right. In Iraq, they were giving freedom and democracy to Iraq. In Ukraine, they're trying to genocide Ukraine out of existence and just bring them into the Russian Empire and fuck you. They're stealing their land. They're stealing their people. So the Iraq war is better than the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I don't like the neocon version of the world. I think we can have, I think a neoliberal version of the world would be better. That's a step in the right direction. Yeah, it goddamn is. So David Beasley said they're taking food from the hungry to feed the starving. Yemenis are completely dependent on international assistance. Farouki explains they have a multi-year Band-Aid approach in which they don't have sustainable infrastructure solutions. So now Ukraine is getting some attention. So then they're like, fuck, we've been, basically starving and dying here and we need... There's record food and fuel prices. The country relies almost entirely on food imports. 30% of its wheat comes from the Ukraine. The UN last month raised less than a third of the $4 billion requested for its Yemen relief effort. So they only raised less than a third. So Yemen needs help. The United Nations is raising money to help them, but Saudi Arabia just needs to stop fucking killing them. I mean, what can the UN do? Help give them food and shit, but barely keep them alive? A 2-month truce was brokered by the United Nations, so this gives cause for some cautious optimism. So the United Nations has brokered a 2-month truce between Saudi Arabia and Yemen. We're coming up on almost a decade of conflict, of no access to resources, of limited access to education, healthcare services, nutrition, water, the cascading effects that this has on generations of Yemenis, I can't even put into words. It's repugnant and unacceptable that we would just kind of turn our backs on people who've been suffering for way too long, said Farouki. So, yeah, we need to do something about Palestine. We need to do something about Yemen, and we need to do something about the Ukraine. They're people too, motherfuckers. Palestine, they've been living in apartheid for, decades. Decades. Israel thinks that they could steal Palestinian land. You can't steal Palestinian land. That's not your land. Hey, Putin, you can't steal Ukrainian land. That's not your land. In Saudi Arabia, you can't steal Yemeni land. That's not your land, motherfuckers.